Hey everyone, welcome to this edition of Sport Fishing on the Fly. Today, changing it up a little bit. We're going after bass fishing. We got the services of Dwayne here. He's going to oar us around and help us catch a few fish. Maybe catch a few fish yourself.
That's right. I hope you sure do. We will.
Yeah.
Positive.
Should be a pretty good day. I think we got the ideal conditions for bass. We've got clear skies, a little bit of cloud, quite warm.
It's hot.
It is hot. Shallow water, the fish are stacking up in the weeds, and hopefully we'll get some topwater action. That's what we're hoping for.
Well, that's what we're going out after. We're at Duck Lake near Creston, BC, one of the best bass fishing lakes I think in BC. And of course, there's not a lot of them. This is definitely one of the more prolific ones.
And they're all largemouth bass in here. We have some smallmouth bass lakes around, but this one totally targeting largemouth bass today.
So bass fishing at Duck Lake, that's today, as we take you sport fishing on the fly.
You ready? Yeah. Lower down. Nice and easy. Just watch the back water. And it goes. Is it taking all water?
No, it's
Oh, it's in the water, okay. Yeah. There. I got out of the way. I love that. Nice to see them after topwater stuff though. Just like that.
Right along the edge.
Alright.
Just coming out.
Look at that. He's just starting out, just coming out of the bay.
Oh, little guy.
Little guy, but
They get a lot
still.
bigger, that's for sure.
That's so cool. That's a good start, isn't it?
You know the pattern's working.
Oh, that's a nice little bass. Hey,
Just a little guy. Bigger ones to come.
there he wants to go. Yeah, but that's a neat thing about largemouth bass. You know, they just love to hit poppers. That's what we got, the dry water poppers. And you're saying right on the edge, eh? And that's where I put it. That guy right on the edge.
Right on the edge.
And the neat thing is, see, you're hooking bulrushes and everything. Well, on these flies, we've got nice weed guards. So you just chuck it in there, pop it through the bush, let it fall, and bring it back out. Special opportunity today. Dwayne convinced us we have a great opportunity here in the Kootenays for some bass.
Exactly. If you're a fly fisherman or a fly fishing person, you have another opportunity besides the rainbows. This is very unique largemouth bass fishery, up to 10 pounds.
And it is a largemouth bass now.
Exactly. Largemouth.
And I know
bass.
we've got some smallmouth bass around in some other lakes or in the area, but largemouth, they're fun to catch because they love that top water.
They love the top water, and we're going to be using the popper pattern, deer hair style fly, and we're going to work the edges along the bulrushes and see what happens.
Well, you know what? You're the experienced guide out here. You've been out here quite a few times, and I know we're going to get into some good action, I'm hoping. If we have to get down, we might have to go with some wet lines, maybe go down with a big leech pattern, but this is a very shallow lake, you're saying, really shallow.
That's right. It's about 6 to 8 feet deep on the average, and I think we've hit it at a good time with some little bit of runoff has filled the lake.
We'll get right over by that rock. Right now, I'm going to plug it. It's going to be down over there for sure. Should have been rewarded. Man. You know what? Probably an hour from now, that's going to be that's going to produce.
towards the boat here.
There we go. Well, you know what's kind of neat with this guy, we saw him actually boil right beside where he picked off the fly. And I also, you know what else I did was I just changed up. We're having trouble hooking these guys up. That's getting a little better in size there. Yeah, the barbless hook.
Good job. Nice little fish.
Yeah.
It was bigger.
We saw him boil right beside where I laid the fly in there. And the one thing that I did, we got all these flies here from the fly shop in Creston.
Right.
And they all got weed guards on them. Having
Yeah.
trouble hooking up, so I took the weed guard off.
Yeah.
And that was the first fish, and he hooked up.
That's right.
So I might get some weeds, but at least I'm going to get some fish. So I think
Yeah.
it's more a fish guard than a weed guard.
Yeah, exactly.
Today in the technology, I want to talk about rod selection. One of the most asked questions that we get is what type and what weight of rod should I get? Well, the type of rod is really personal preference. You got to get out and try it out. But what we're going to look at today is the weight of the rod. And there's really 3 questions that you have to ask yourself. The first is, what's the size of the fish that I'm going to be going after? Are they big rainbows? Are they small bonefish that still have an attitude? Or are they smaller fish? That's what dictates number 1 question on the size of the rod that you get. The bigger the fish, the heavier rod you're going to want to get. Saltwater fish too, you want a heavier rod as well. Second question you want to ask yourself, how far do I have to cast? If I have to make the long cast, sometimes you have to get the fly out there long ways. You have to get 60, 70 foot casts. So you need a little bit heavier rod again to get the longer cast in. The third question you want to ask yourself, what size of fly am I typically casting? Am I using little 16 and 18 caddis? You can get away with a small rod. But if you're big bass bugs, or if you're going after bull trout and you got some big heavy artillery flies, you like streamer fishing, you need a heavier rod. So those are the first 3 questions you have to ask yourself. And the answer then to the weight of the rod that you get is whichever one of those 3 questions is the highest amount, that's the rod that you buy. So if you're going after bigger fish and you need a 7-weight rod, even though you're casting small flies and you don't have to cast very far, well, then you would get the 7-weight rod. Or vice versa, if you're casting big flies but you're not catching very big fish, again, you need the heavier rod. So whichever one of those 3 questions is the heaviest rod, that's the answer to your question. Yes. What you got there?
I got me a little bass. It's just drifting down to the spot where we're going. Oh, gee, they're kind of tough when they get in those weeds. Well, the nice thing is you can fish as you drift down. What we're doing is doing a little wind drift. Dwayne's on the oars, getting down to the cliffs, so they call them here. And just drag a leech, cast out with the wind. Drag a little guy along, and you got the little guy. And that's a little baby. A little bass. I love it. There he goes. All right, this guy came right out of the water. Another little guy.
We seen him boil.
We saw a boil. Yeah. So we came and scouted out. And there he is again. Nice little guy. But he came right out of the water and tried to pop it. They got the big yap on him, so they can just come out and whoop and just go right on top. There he is there.
We still need that big one yet.
We need the big guy. We know they're here. We've seen a couple of them around, so we know they're in there. There he is, barbless hooks as always. Just pops out. And another nice little guy. Put him back. And actually, what we'll do is, Dwayne, is maybe we could tell everybody a little bit about the lake. I know it's a very shallow lake. It's in a bird sanctuary, actually. This whole area, the Creston Valley, is a beautiful area for birds to hang out. There's every kind of bird you can imagine in here. And you're saying they don't allow anything on this lake?
That's right. It's a hard access lake to fish. There's some limited points to put a boat in, but your boat can't have a motor. So you have to use oars or a float tube. And as you can see, it's a fairly large lake. I don't know how many hectares it is, but it's pretty big. So, you got to have a nice calm day and some means of rowing and getting out there.
And they don't allow electric motors either, just no motors, period.
That's right. But that enhances the fishery. The fish are getting bigger and there's more of them because of that.
And plus you can tell in here, if you were to take a motor in here, you just rip up all the weeds, you just destroy the whole environment here, the whole habitat. You can hear the birds in the background, just whistling away. What a beautiful area to come, for sure.
It is.
But it's the time of night, we're going to get some big guys, so let's get at it.
Okay.
All right. Wow, we were just in the middle of retrieving a fly, I believe.
Look at the weeds in that. He really tried to get rid of you.
He did. All they do, they go straight for the bottom. that bottom lip there. Find your hook buried in that massive mouth.
A little bit of salad there.
A little bit of everything in there. There we go. You know what we should do? We'll get rid of this guy here. We should talk about the setup that we got today. Set him in, off he goes. Recommended setup. Somebody wants to come and do this type of fishing?
Well, you're going to want a 9-foot rod. 6 to 8 weight would be perfect.
Okay.
With a floating line, because we're fishing on top. So you want your line to match with that. About a 9-foot leader and floating fly. Preferably a deer hair fly that's going to pop along the surface.
The nice thing about the 6 to 8 weight, there's like weed everywhere. The whole lake is weed.
Well, that's exactly it. You know, these fish go in the weeds like this one, you're going to have to put some pressure on them. And not only that, this lake gets a little windy at times. So you want to be able to cut through the wind with a heavier rod.
So having like a wind cutter line or a bass cutter line or something like that.
Exactly.
Perfect.
Yeah, it works good.
All right. Well, don't go away. We'll be back with some more because I think things are just starting to heat up.
I think so.
Oh, there's one. All right, more topwater action. This is pretty good. Not bad at all. And it's funny, the later it gets here, the more they move into those weeds. Nothing real big yet, but still, the topwater action is kind of fun. Just a little guy on the popper. All right, not a bad little guy. Now you're actually saying, how big are the fish in here? They get pretty big.
They sure do. 6 to 7 pounds. It's common.
6 to
for this
7
lake.
pounds. And I know actually we were out here once before, and we did get quite a big one. I don't know how big it was, probably 4 or 5 pounds. So what we're actually going to do is go to that footage and show everybody the size of the fish we caught that day. And no top water action though. It was a little wavy, a little windy. We're hoping for some calm conditions, but it stayed windy all day. So we didn't get a show, but we did get one nice fish. So let's go and check that footage out. Oh,
Aren't they
ever tough? Gee whiz, this guy's nice size. He's big.
Yeah.
It feels big anyways. Oh. But this guy's tough.
Well, we said later on, you know, the big guys are going to come out. We got into an area that's a lot shallower here. A lot shallower. We're thinking, uh-oh, we're just going to tangle up. But you saw a hole out there, you cast over it. And
that was it. It went really shallow, like a foot to 2 feet. Dropped into about a 4-foot hole.
Yeah.
That's where he's sitting, right in that hole. That is a nice bass.
oh, is it ever? Oh, yeah. Very big.
Oh. Just grab him by the
Take
lip.
your rod for you.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
And Barb's hook.
Excellent
Should
fish.
just come right out. Look at that.
Oh,
There
yeah.
is a bass. Isn't
Right
that a
on.
beauty?
Yeah.
Look at the yap on him. Look at how nice that fish is. That's a few pounds. That's got to be a good 4-pound fish.
Yeah.
That's a
Oh,
dandy.
yeah, for sure.
He wants
they
to go.
Yeah.
There he
he
goes.
goes. Oh, right on. Yeah.
No, there's one we came for.
Good
That's the
fish.
one. No, that was decent.
Excellent.
Yeah, little size this time. Getting a little later in the evening here. And you know what I'm finding? They're liking the faster strip. They want you to really get it cooking. To get a faster strip. And this guy went down. He's a little bit bigger, but he picked up a lot of weed down there.
Oh, that's nice, huh?
Yeah, and he wanted it just cooking. Like that was a real fast retrieve. He didn't want the slow little blips, he wanted it moving. That's a better fish. Still not as big as the guy we showed you that we got out last time, but well, there he is there. Not bad.
Do you know what? As the evening goes on, they're getting bigger, aren't they?
They are. And I think that's what it's all about, you know, is the late evening fishery. You might as well put that guy back. And see, now that's the way you release a bass. Nice and gentle, you know, it's not like the old whew, chuck it on the boat and watch him go down. You just lay him in the water and let him go. Hi everyone, and welcome to the bench. Well, today we're going to change it up and tie you up the green bass popper. Make sure you have these materials ready before you tie the fly. For the hook, we're going to use a Mustad 1/0 offset hook. We'll use some bright green mono for the thread, some light olive marabou for the tail. For the body, we'll wrap in some olive green deer hair, some large rattle eyes for the eyes, some 15 to 20 pound clear mono for the weed guard, and we'll finish the fly with some Loon's clear hardhead finish. To start the fly off, I've tied in a base layer of thread, and I've taken some 14 pound clear mono. I'm going to tie it in just near the butt of the hook, and I'm actually going to wrap it right down halfway down the bend of the hook because I want a good a good base on this mono, and this is going to be our weed guard for later. I've now taken my thread and moved it back to the bend of the hook. I've taken quite a bit of my olive marabou, and we're going to tie in a short tail on the fly, and we'll just wrap it in good so the tail is about as long as the hook. I've taken some deer hair, removed the under fur from the top and actually stacked it. I'm going to tie in just a collar on this back tail, and I want about half the length of the tail at the back, so we're just going to tie in a small collar there and let the deer hair flare. I've now taken a large clump of deer hair, and what I'm going to do is spin it onto my body, spin it onto the hook to form a bit of the body. I'm going to push it back, stack it a bit, move my thread forward, and continue this process of spinning on the deer hair, stacking it back until I reach the offset in the hook, and this will form the body. Now that I've spun in my last patch of deer hair, I'm going to just tie up a little bit of thread at the eye of the hook, and we're going to whip finish, because now we're going to take it out of the hook and start trimming the body. So we'll take the hook out of the vise. Now we're going to need a good pair of scissors, really good pair of scissors, or a good razor blade also works. First of all, we're going to start cutting the bottom and trim the bottom nice and flat, as close as you can get to the hook without cutting anything important off. Now we'll just start trimming back towards the tail, and you want to taper the body so that it's fat near the head and really thin near the back towards the tail. The main key here is to leave the front of the hook nice and bushy, nice and fat to give it that popper profile. Now that I've finished trimming the body, I've put the hook back into the vise. I'm going to start my thread back at the eyelet of the hook, trim off our excess, and now we're going to take our clear mono that we had sitting off the back, and we're going to tie in our weed guard. And you want this to just swing back just around the hook, and bring it up and tie it off to form the weed guard. To finish the fly off, we're going to whip finish our thread, cut off the excess. Now we're going to take some hard head finish. This Loon Outdoors makes this great hard head finish. And what we're going to do, take some hard head finish and just finish off our thread, a bit of hard head finish, and then bring it up over the front of the deer hair, just the very front, just to form a nice collar. Another optional component to this fly is to add some eyes. We have some large rattle eyes. What I'm going to do is just put some hard head finish on the eyes and stick them onto your deer hair. And there it is, the finished green bass popper. People are probably wondering why I tie this on an offset hook. We find that it seems to give the fly a lot more action on the top. And remember, the weed guard and the eyes are optional.
Incoming, heads up.
Okay.
Little guy. The McMidget fish. So much for the theory of them getting bigger. The best part of using topwater stuff though, no perch today. Well, all these flies worked really good today. We had a little bit of leech action earlier, but it was almost all topwater action today, and a little frog pattern. You worked pretty good.
Yeah, it sure did. And you know, top water is a lot of fun. I'd rather do that than trying to fish wet.
Yeah, any day, you bet.
But you know, sometimes with the weather prevailing, you have to go wet. But on a night like this, top water is the only way to go.
Well, that's why I always talk about being prepared. You know, when you come to a place like this, be prepared for everything. But make sure you got a couple of good dry fly patterns, because for me too, fly fishing is all visual. The more visual I can make it, the better I like to fly fish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And casting into the weeds and that really hone your experience or your skill.
Right.
You know, it's almost like rising at a rising trout, casting into the weeds.
And what we found tonight was, and you kept harping on, is get it in closer, get it in closer. And the tighter you got it, the better your chances are of catching a fish.
That's right.
Thanks a lot for bringing us here today.
My pleasure.
I really appreciate it. When you get a chance, give Dwayne a call. He'll bring you out here. You have a great day of bass fishing. It's a lot of fun. Something different than trout fishing, but certainly very visual and a lot of fun. Anyway, you take care, conserve the waters, and we'll catch you next time when we take you sport fishing on the fly.